Welcome to the Family Office, planning for the people who matter most.
We got some really good traction on a couple of the shorts. But at any rate, how was your trip, Len?
Trip was good. Just a little mini vacay. Just went and hung out in Palm Springs, and just my wife and I, and we had a good time, man. We got a chance to eat some good food and relax, and it wasn't super hot for Palm Springs, which was nice. And so,
is it still cool there that time of year right now? I haven't been there in a long time.
It was over 90, but for Palm Springs in the spring/summertime, that's not so bad. So in the night, you still get a little bit of a reprieve. And what's beautiful out there is that it isn't as much light pollution. So you can see the stars in the sky. It's really beautiful at night, and it cools down. So it was nice. It's good to be back.
Do you guys stay at like a big place, or do you guys have like a timeshare or something to that effect?
We have a timeshare. So we have a Hyatt timeshare. Nice. And so, it was pretty cool. Nice little suite, and just get a chance to relax and chill and take advantage of the different locations in different parts of the world if we want to, So there's a whole like strategy with, trading time and minutes and all of that stuff. So
right. I used to have a timeshare. Palm Springs is great. I used to have a timeshare out there. It was Pacific Monarch. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember Pacific
Absolutely.
Monarch? Owned by the
I used
Post
to have
brothers.
a Pacific Monarch, and then
everybody did. It was a rite of passage in the 2000s.
That's right. And I sold it because once we started doing well in business, and the company would pay for trips, it made no sense to keep it with all the maintenance fees and all that stuff. So
I think that's one of the best things about, being in the industry that we are in, but then also throwing it on top of the style that we are in was just the travel, because I've traveled so many places because of that. And I never would have traveled to any of those places had I not been in that type of environment. So,
So quick question before we start. What's been your favorite trip that you took in your entire life?
My favorite trip that I've ever taken.
And you can define the reason why, because sometimes it might be family, adventure, whatever.
Absolutely.
Food, culture.
I would say the best trip I ever took was when we went to Spain. I've been to Maldives, I've been to Greece, I've been to Italy, I've been to Dubai. I mean, I've been to a lot of different places, but I would say the trip that we went to
El Clásico
in 2017, right? It was in 2017. That was so epic because the way it was done, and I don't know, I know there was other people that were planning it, but I think it was the way you did it, because we were not with the other groups, so it must have been the way. But the way you had planned it, or the way it was set up, where we were staying, and we lived like locals.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I knew the train, the subsystem, the what is it not called, the subsystem, the metro system,
subway system,
the metro. We got in Barcelona by like the third or fourth day. It was amazing, and we would go out literally at 7, 8 o'clock in the morning,
go to the little local stores, and
we wouldn't be back till 10 or 11 o'clock at night sometimes. And it was, I think to me that was cool. And then going to see Clásico and going to Madrid. I thought that was still, to me, that was probably my favorite trip. Second to that would be Maldives, because we were on a yacht. So that was pretty cool to do
awesome.
that.
Speaking of Barcelona, man, they just finished you just sent me that article talking about they finished the church there.
Yes.
Awesome.
What is it called? The 144 years, the Sagrada Familia has been the world's most visited place or church or whatever it is. But at any rate, we went and seen that thing, and now to see it is under construction or is being finished or is now finished. It's pretty cool. If you haven't had a chance to go do that, I highly suggest you do it. So
absolutely,
but that would probably be my number one still to this day. And we've had a lot of trips.
Cool.
I'm sure there's a lot of trips I'm forgetting, but at any rate, Len, what a freaking buzzer beater, baby.
Oh, my goodness.
Can you believe it? Len, let's start off first with the U.S. and Iran current state of affairs. It's top of the list. Everyone's talking about it. Hold on. Before you say anything, let's take a peek real quick at U.S. Texas Intermediary, or Brent crude. $81 a barrel. It's going down.
Of course. Trump shorts are making their millions right now.
Trump is cleaning up right now in France or G7 or wherever he's doing right now. He landed there and went, what are you guys going to do now? So then,
perspective, man.
How was your Sunday?
I'm very interested in this conversation because I think that
how are you going to spin this for me right now?
No, brother, I'm telling you, because I was going to ask you the same thing.
It's done. The deal's done. It's done. Done deal.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Okay, look.
Peace is done.
Let me ask you this. Here's the question. Have both sides signed the MOU?
There's a memorandum of understanding and there's a deal made. And
That is correct.
Okay.
It's verbal right now. So
Right.
if you go and say, "Hey, I found this house," and you're like, "Hey, let's shake on it," and you don't sign
I knew you were going to say it. I knew it. I knew you were going to do this.
It doesn't count.
I knew.
But I want to get your reason why you are so excited, and I'm going to break down exactly why I disagree with your sentiments, but I'm going to back it up.
I like that.
So go
okay.
for it. So tell me
since
about.
Since the rest of the world at this point, including, the futures market and the stock market, which obviously predicts the market or the future, says that this is done. The Strait is open. France even came out this morning ahead of Trump's arrival and said, "Hey, by the way, we're going to go down there and start clearing the mines. We're in with you guys." What makes it telling for me, and this is where I was cautious with you yesterday on it, because I was watching it and the New York Times, which, the New York Times, they said it. And then all of a sudden after that came out, it was like quiet for like two or 3 hours, like no news. And I was like, I bet you it's getting signed right now, or it's being agreed upon right now. Like it's being done right now. And they said they're going to electronically sign it or something like that. So what was telling to me though, was when I sent that to you and you went, well, I'm going to do this, but here's where it happened and it flipped for me. Not just that Fox News said, "Hey, deal's done. Deal is done." But Al Jazeera reported it. But secondly, Pakistan, which was really big in obviously the negotiations, they came out and announced it. And then Iran's Supreme Foreign Committee or Defense or Foreign whatever committee came out and said, "Yeah, deal's done. We're good. Everybody's great. Everything's done." So if they had not come out and make a statement, like if Iran had not made a statement, and it was an official statement, which, by the way, I will caveat that with the fact that there are hardliners probably in Iran right now that are extremely unhappy that this was done. And then there are the progressives probably in Iran, which are ultimately going to hopefully end up running that country, that are going, "Hey, look, bro, we can't continue to operate as if it was 2,000 years ago and it's the Old Testament. We just can't do that anymore." And the rest of the world just seems to be in this funk where they don't think that that's what's happening. But I don't want to riff on that too much.
No, you're good.
So if they had not come out and said that, then I wouldn't be sitting here going, "All right, cool." But the fact that the officials that are running that place right now, the Supreme Council came out and said, "Hey, done deal. We're signing it. Everything's good. Awesome." And then the fact that everything's moving again, I would not be happy sitting here going, "Okay, Len, looks like the final hour was not kind to you." But I knew you were going to find some way because it's not signed yet. But here's the reality behind it. Also, at the same time, and I'll throw it over to you, Len. Okay. I could tell you the biggest unhappy people about this right now is Israel. They're the most unhappy about this because they don't want this deal to happen. They want this to keep going. But Trump, like I said, from the beginning, he's going to make a deal because Trump is not a war guy. He's not a war guy. And if you've listened to him since the 70s and the 80s, he's not a war guy, but he's been very clear on what he wanted to do. And he went in there and he made a deal with Iran. What makes this also different is that it is coalesced around those countries in that area, like UAE, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and all of those other countries. So this is the first time I think any type of framework was been like that. And here's the reality. Okay. Even Bill O'Reilly came out today and said everybody should be thanking Trump. So I don't know. That's where I'm at right on it. And I think it's a great thing. And no matter what anybody wants to say about it, this is the most progress. And I don't want to even throw Obama deserves whatever he deserves for his credit, even though I think it was horrible. And most people will agree with that. And it got violated very soon because there was no backing. There was no teeth behind it. This is the first time that not only is an agreement or something's being done, but there's a coalition being built outside the normal coalitions. And that is what I've always been looking for, is those guys need to figure that out over there on their own. Anyways, tell me, Len, what's on your mind here?
Okay.
I wait with breathless anticipation right now.
So here's the reality. Iran came out with a 14-point MOU. And part of that MOU are things that the United States would never agree with. I'll give you an example. $300 billion of reparations to begin to repair what the bombing has done in the infrastructure. You can't tell me that the United States is going to agree to do that. They also talked about $24 billion, $12 billion up front before they even move forward in the ceasefire agreement. So those are two things. The other thing that I think very few people are talking about is Israel's role in this entire thing. They just bombed Lebanon yesterday on the same day the agreement was done. And so part of the agreement is that Israel needs to leave them alone, or their proxies as well, Hezbollah and Lebanon and so on and so forth, the Houthis and all of those things. Israel's never going to agree with that. The other thing is that you have the IRGC, and then you have another faction. The IRGC is the one who's really in control. So even if the United States continues to impose sanctions on Iran, the IRGC has money that they can make through weapons, through trade. They have so many other sources of income that's not based on their sanctions. And so you have factions right now because their supreme leader still hasn't shown his face since the first day they were bombed. And so we don't really know who's in charge. So that's another thing. And this is the true story, is that this has been the 39th time that they've so-called made an agreement. You go look it up. This is the 39 times. There's 38 other times where they started and stopped because of some failed or disagreement that happened between the two parties. So until I hear that Iran signed the MOU, ink on paper, I don't believe any of it, because there are so many other contingencies that they don't want from the United States. So let me explain. I believe that the United States is giving Iran a golden opportunity to take time to do a strategic ceasefire so they can go build more Shahed drones so they can build up their stockpiles. Because here's the thing. What they learned, they being Iran, what they learned is that the Strait of Hormuz will never be the same. It's never going to be open for business. I don't care what Trump says. They're not going to have a bunch of ships traveling through there. So when you see ships traveling through the Strait of Hormuz on a regular basis, up to 120 a day, and you have Iran that signs the agreement, at that point, that's when I'll concede, you know what, Chris, you were right. Until those things happen, I don't believe it. Words are words, because you hear Donald Trump saying this and you hear Iran saying this, and they're not the same. I have not one time heard them lockstep. And so until that happens, I don't believe it. Just watch, mark my word. Within 2 weeks from this today's conversation, you're going to hear some other skirmish that's happened. You're going to hear some type of disagreement that's come up. And this is what I'll say in closing. If within 2 weeks from now, there has been a signed document and no disagreement between the two parties as it relates to the MOU, I'll do my part with the DoorDash, because I'm the one who said that bet. But as of right now, Chris, it's only words, man. There's no actions that have backed up anything.
So there's a couple things in there that I want to look at. The number one thing is, and I think that this is extremely I don't know why you didn't have this position before, or why you weren't thinking about this before when you said, well, look, there's been, what would you say, Len, 30 times they've made an agreement and walked away, or 30 times that they've
This is the 39th time.
Since when?
Since February.
Since February. Okay. That's very telling to you that in two ways. Number one, that's a good thing, because that means there's active negotiations going on. So the fact that they came to an agreement after 39 times, that to me legitimizes it more. Now, if they would have came to an agreement on their first or the second or the third or the fourth time, someone's paying forced here. Look, here's the thing. There were two options, and I think this is why this deal got pushed last week. Okay. There's a lot of different timing aspects behind it in the grand picture, midterms,
Trump's
crazy Democrat, Trump's birthday, the 250th year thing, whatever the case may be. Oh, I know. All the people that are opposed to Trump, like on the left, mostly 80% of the people that are on the left, they're just sitting there waiting to see if they can take control of the midterm so that they can impeach him again for no reason and waste everybody's time again, right? Because here's the reality behind it. Theirs is a totally different country from 2024 to today. And I'm happy.
You're right about that.
I am so happy where it's going because what do you mean? The White House was a drag queen 2 years ago. Last night, it was the most epic scene in the history of this country. I mean, you had Dana White there, 60 million, and it was cost 60 million. Yeah, Dana White put that in there. That's called private business. Oh, well, nobody could figure out a way to attack.
I don't have any issue with what happened yesterday. There's a lot of folks on the left that are like,
they're mad about it.
Spending. And to me, that's so right. Irrelevant. But go ahead.
Go ahead, Len.
Go ahead.
But to me, all of this is all the timing stuff, right? That's all great stuff and all the distractions, and that's great. But the fact that it took that long to do that to me legitimizes it more, right? It makes it more legitimate. I don't know why I can't say that word.
That's so interesting that you
at the end of perspective. But also here's the other thing, Len, because you've never seen. Here's the reason why I don't think anybody's ever seen this type of stuff before. Because no one's ever negotiated or made deals the way Trump's making deals right now. But at the same time, you're watching the kings and queens get dismantled in the world. You're watching the kings and queens that have been in power since the end of the Roman Empire for the last 2,000 years. I mean, and you're watching this system break down. It's done. It's done. These kings and queens that have been in power for hundreds of thousands of years through bloodlines and all this stuff and incest, it's done. It's over. All the aristocrats are failing and they're losing their power grip. And the new world order will be the United States, China, Russia, Japan, and India. And all these other countries are going to have to figure out how to fit in. What did Germany say yesterday, a couple days before? We'll be the military back of Europe against Russia. Why are we stoking a war with Russia again still? Why is Germany wanting to say things like that? That's very provocative language. The two things that could have happened, because no one's happy here. At the end of the day, we're not happy with what we had to get out of it. Israel's definitely not happy. Iran's not happy. But at the end of the day, there's framework. There's a memorandum of understanding. And here's why I think, and it's scheduled to get in person. Trump invited these guys to come to G7 and meet in person, right? So everything is being done to make this as normal and as peaceful and as diplomatic as everybody wants it to be, because here's what really literally just almost happened. Right within 48 hours of this thing being done, Len, I think Trump said, look, one of two things is going to happen. We're going to sign this memorandum of agreement, of understanding or agreement, and we're going to put this up, because if not, game over, baby. It's going to be totalitarian like wars used to be. Because when wars happen back in the day like this, and this is where the U.S. has been handcuffed since World War II, and the U.S. hasn't won any wars because the U.S. has been handcuffed by Geneva Accords and all these other crap treaties that we've made. The reality is this: if this would have continued past this weekend, Len, it would have been lights out for Iran. Iran would have ceased to exist. I could promise you that, because we were getting ready to go in and totalitarian it. That's the only, because here, Len, the only way out of this is one of two solutions. Either we go in there and it's a real war and see you later, you guys are gone, and there's nothing to argue about anymore. And I know it sucks to say that, but this is the way the world has been for thousands of years. There are entire civilizations 10 times the size of the United States that have been killed by the Mongols.
Right.
In history. So you either sit down and agree to this, or it's lights out. And I think Iran finally went, okay, it's not. And I don't,
it's not going to happen.
I don't know why you overestimate. They can't build Shahed drones anymore. It's decimated. It's a glass parking lot there now.
No, it's not, Chris.
But how do you know that?
Let me just.
But how do you know that?
Let me give you a couple of pieces of history that's happened over the last few months. And we've talked about it a little bit, but I want to try to make it as concise as possible. So back in June of last year, almost a year ago. It's a year ago now. Where we went in, the United States went in, and they so-called obliterated their nuclear capabilities. But recently, they had 60% enriched uranium. So either they lied about that, or Iran had it so hidden and they didn't know about that. And so that's one thing. Another thing is that Iran is being underestimated by the United States. And listening to you, you're underestimating them as well, because here's the other part that's important to know is that as they rebuild those drones, they put all of their fellow countrymen and other surrounding countries in harm's way, because most of the desert countries in the UAE, they rely on saltwater desalination plants to take salt water and make it fresh. So all they have to do is send up a bunch of drones and take those things out. And also the other thing is they now understand that they can charge a toll for the Strait of Hormuz, because as we look at all of the items that have been kind of agreed upon on the United States side from the MOU, the biggest thing is reopening the Strait of Hormuz. Like, Trump's big declaration was, the Strait of Hormuz is open. Start your engine and fire up those boats. Well, that's what we had before the war even started. So how do you declare victory to get back to where you were? And there's nothing else that's been a benefit except for the United States. And this is not a benefit. 13 troops have died. A whole bunch of little girls at a school have died. And thousands of people have been wounded. And so to go back to where we were, given all of the devastation that's happened, is not a victory, and you can't spin it to make it a victory. No,
I think it is.
Cannot.
I'll tell you exactly.
And I'm not saying you, Chris. I'm saying your president is spinning this as a victory.
No. I don't think so. I don't think it's being spun as a victory, and here's why, Len. Look, number one, and I'm still going to always go back to this argument, this needed to be done. Do you really want that type of... Look, the thing that's fascinating to me is the fact that all of these countries and all of these things, all these positions that are against this action that was taken will all then on the other note say, oh my God, Iran is doing bad things and and we shouldn't have this and la 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 la. But everybody who says that wants to wait until the shit hits the fan. Oh my God.
There can be two existing realities.
No,
like
there
China
isn't.
Does bad things. Yes, there is.
I know
China does bad things. Russia does bad things.
They all do.
We do bad things in covert ways. Like when you saw what happened.
But why do you have to say covertly?
Venezuela.
Like China's not the biggest covert operator in the world. Like I don't understand.
No, they operate. Okay, I'll give you that. I'll concede that, and I will say the United States has been less covert since Trump took office. I'll give you that for sure.
Isn't that nice to know that? That's
okay,
nice to know that. I mean, it is for me anyways.
I think you can have a perspective where it's good to know what's going on. And I agree with that. But like, for example, the whole bombing did you see what just happened in Venezuela where, this cartel's shack was blown?
I didn't see it in Venezuela.
So it was declassified. And there was the United States was working with the Venezuelan government, and evidently a cartel boss and some of their people were in this building in the middle of nowhere, and they just obliterated that thing, man. And so it's just, but like those types of things, like if we heard that Iran was doing that, and let's say if they did that in Uruguay or in Canada or in Germany, we'd be outraged by it. And so I just think there's kind of a double standard, but I think that's a side argument. The biggest argument that I want to come around to is this. Here's my question to you. In your opinion, based on the so-called memorandum of understanding that's going to be signed, I put it in air quotes
on Friday.
It hasn't been signed yet. Yes.
I think it's been digitally signed. It's going to be ink signed on Friday.
Well, we'll see, but it's the actions that will follow. So based on what you believe is on that memorandum of understanding, specifically, let me tell you what I believe is on it for the most part.
Because Trump's teased that it's going to be released. The text will be released, but it hasn't been yet.
Yes, and they're not giving all of the specifics. So I understand that. I respect if two governmental entities get together and say, look, the general public doesn't need to know all of the specifics of the...
That's where I disagree with you. That's why I disagree with you.
Okay. I think that's an arguable position to take. So I don't see that you're being irrational.
And here's why. Here's why, Len.
But because even Trump said that he doesn't want all the items
I get
exposed.
That.
That's what he said.
I get that. Right now, but it eventually should be exposed, because then that sets the precedence that it's us against them and the government rules us. In reality, they're making the decisions for us. So they work for us. So
Very
we
good
understand.
point. I think after the fact,
yes, after
it should be released.
Dust settles, like we should know about this crap.
I agree
because
with
it's
that
our
part.
Stuff.
I'm talking about during the negotiations.
It should be masked. It should be masked.
That's what I mean. Because like, for example, in sports, and we're going to talk a little bit about sports for the first time, like if I'm working on negotiating a deal, like all of my cards shouldn't be exposed because it gives give and take with leverage. So I understand that part. But what I'm saying is, based on what we publicly know, is the Strait of Hormuz is supposed to be open, and it's supposed to be open. But the Iranians are saying we're going to charge a toll, and the United States is saying no tolls. So based on that, and then also based on the fact that Israel is not supposed to do any more, take any aggressive action on them or Lebanon.
You're right
about that. And then also on the whole $300 billion that's supposed to get paid by the United States for reparations, not including the $24 billion that's kind of been set aside with monies that have been tied up due to sanctions and stuff like that. Just based on those few things, how would you say the United States has fared in this negotiation?
Well, number one, I don't think Trump's going to make a bad deal.
Okay.
Now, is he going to get everything he wants? No, but that's well, look, when you're dealing with crazy people, and that's the people that run that country are crazy. I mean, let's be honest, they're crazy. They are crazy. It's ran by clerics that still run the world and think the world is, Old Testament, which is fine. It's great. It's cool. It's how they want to run. But the reality is this. I don't think he's making a bad deal. The Strait of Hormuz, and I'm going to go back to this point again. This is a great deal and needed to happen whether or not you wanted it to happen, because eventually Iran was going to do something crazy and the Strait of Hormuz wouldn't have existed anymore, because it would have been a nuclear bomb hole there. And there wouldn't have been water there anymore because it would have evaporated, and it would have been a nuclear fallout for the next 250 years, and everyone would read about it in history books. See, everybody that's against this doesn't think that. And that's the problem, because nobody thinks that. They don't, it's not going to do this, especially when someone is a hothead like that. Oh, there was no signs that he was going to be a bully. He murdered pets every day. We didn't think he was going to be a murderer eventually when he grew up, or she, or whoever it is. So everybody, look, when you have an agonist like that consistently is an agonist in a lot of different ways, whether out overtly or inwardly, you got to take them out before they take you out. I'm sorry. That's just the way the world works. That's the way it works. Now, getting back to where the deal is with Iran and all in respects to that, the Strait of Hormuz could have stayed closed for the rest of human existence, and it wouldn't have impacted the United States. In fact, it would have been a benefit to us. In fact, I say keep the damn thing closed. Aside from the fact that Trump is getting.
Let's just stop right there and deal with that part, because I want to make sure, because I want you to make your other points, but I want to have a back and forth about this idea that the strait being closed is good for the United States.
Yeah.
Here's where I disagree with you fundamentally, is that when you look at oil prices, oil prices is a commodity. It's just like you can't change the price of gold in one region versus the other, the same way you can't change the price of oil one place or another. So as you know, Chris, 20% of the world's oil goes through the Strait of Hormuz. Now, the UAE is taking steps to reroute their oil to go through Turkey. Beautiful. And other countries are rerouting. So I think that's a good thing. I think that's a great thing. But that's going to take years and hundreds of billions of dollars. So it's not going to happen right now. But that strait being closed is going to make the oil prices go up, because now China has reserves for about 9 months. Taiwan has reserves. Japan has reserves. But a lot of those OPEC nations, the Saudis and all those, they have lots of oil. And, you've got those other countries from the UAE. They have lots of oil, but without it flowing through that strait, they're going to run out. And so even if the United States becomes the world's global net exporter, it's the cost for the delivery of that oil is going to be so expensive. And so that means that every single person on the earth is going to pay more for oil because it's a commodity that's based on a market, Chris, that's all supply and demand.
I don't think
that
so.
is a fact. That's a fact.
Okay, then answer me the question on that then. If all the oil didn't flow from the United States and we suddenly cut off that Strait of Hormuz, which is 20%, you're telling me it'd be too expensive for us to ship it there, but it's not too expensive for them to ship it here? I don't understand.
Okay, here's the other problem. Because
I think the market would balance itself off, and I think here's the problem. Here's the thing: if the Strait of Hormuz would have stayed closed, I think within a year to 2 years, everyone would have been paying a fraction of what they were paying before this all happened, and I think the U.S. would be globally richer, and there'd be no drama.
Brother, I believe we would adjust, but we're talking 5 to 10 years. Now, let me tell you the other wrinkle, because the United States has refineries, right? And we found
not enough.
We found different ways to extract oil, like through fracking and shale oil and stuff like that. But here's the challenge. When those refineries were built, they were built to process old, crude, thick, bad quality oil. The oil that we're producing is high grade oil. It's a lot thinner. So what we have to do, we have to take that oil, we have to put it on tankers to go to other countries. They refine it and then they send it back to us. It's not because we're being dumb about it. We just don't have the refineries to process that. So what you're talking about, Chris, there are so many logistical challenges. There's no way oil will stay the same price.
So I don't
by
understand.
keeping that strait closed.
Why?
If that strait stayed closed, it'd be $200 plus per barrel.
I don't think so. Not in the United States. Not in the United States. Here's the thing. I don't understand why that's looked at as a bad thing. If anything, I think this is a wake up call for all of us to say, hey, why? And again, I blame the politicians. Again, this is our politicians' fault for them not building the needed infrastructure that we needed in this country. Or actually, you know what? Not allowing private industry to do it. See, that's probably really the problem. See, the real reality here is in the last 25 years, we've invested all this money into AI infrastructure or tech infrastructure and all this other stuff that we've invested in. Oh, wait, we haven't even really done that either. See, we've wasted all this time investing in high-speed rails that we built all over the country. Oh, wait, we haven't even done that either. Oh, we built all these windmills and these solar panels that are going to power our grid. Oh, wait, we haven't done that yet either. Oh, we're going to build a bunch of grocery stores. Oh, wait, we haven't done that yet either. But you know what we have done? We've funded the rest of the world. We've given the rest of the world everything. The rest of the world has built new infrastructure. The rest of the world has done all these new things. And the rest of the world, everybody still ends up hating America. And you know what's crazy about it, Len? Is it's done. The trap is over. We've realized it. And Trump has been saying it since the 80s. And no one wants to admit it. But the horse crap is done now. The United States doesn't need all these other countries. It never needed them. It doesn't. It doesn't. We got plenty of oil from the north. We got plenty of oil from the south. We got plenty of oil in the middle. We could feed the whole country with just one state's agriculture production. We could mine our way into whatever we wanted. We could extract rare earth minerals any we wanted. We could do whatever we want in the United States. We're ocean locked. We got a Mississippi River Delta that runs up the middle of the country. It's the envy. And you see that, Len, when World Cup. Those are two, and we'll talk about that because I definitely will. I know you want to talk about that. So getting back.
But here's the thing, Chris. I agree with you about the fact that the United States is beautifully situated because you have the Atlantic and the Pacific Ocean that separates it, and we create so much agriculture. We're a net exporter of many commodities like oil and things like that. All of those things are true. However, Chris, is that again, the point is that when Susie and Billy go to the gas pump, it's based on the supply and demand for all of the world's oil. And so because we're not on, like, the only reason why we pay extra for gas, and I'm giving you ammunition, so don't take it and run with it right now.
I won't take that right now.
The reason why we in California pay more than you in Texas for oil is not because of the gas. I mean, the oil prices. We pay more for gas because of all the stupid taxes we've added on top of it. But regardless, Japan, Brazil, Venezuela, and every other country in the world pay the same exact price for oil. So now it's just a matter of what benefits. Like in Alaska, you could, basically get it for pennies on the dollar, just like you could in Venezuela when Hugo Chavez was in office. Mm-hmm. But it's because of the different taxes and everything. But as long as that strait closes and there's no other forms of energy or other ways to ship that oil to different places, oil prices are going to be a lot. And the longer it happens, hopefully you're right and I'm wrong with this whole ceasefire thing. Gas prices are going to continue to go up only because oil prices are going to continue to go up.
Can you imagine for a second, based on the point you made, because you're like, we enjoy this stable price point. Why? Because the U.S. controls it. It's the petrodollar.
Explain. I'm not sure what you
mean.
We
enjoy that balanced commodity price throughout the world because the U.S. is the petrodollar, right? Because the petrodollar.
Correct. That's a good point.
Cool. Okay, great. So can you imagine for a second if BRICS ran that? Again, this is a question of morality. Do you want BRICS country or the Middle East governing trade policy? Does anybody want that? I don't think so, Len. So if you do, who do you want? Do you want a BRICS petrodollar or do you want a U.S. petrodollar? Because history will tell you. Hold on. History will tell you, because see, here's the greatest thing about being the youngest in the room, meaning the U.S. being the youngest in the room. Here's the best thing. Here's the best thing about being the youngest in the room. None of these mofos can say anything about what we have done because they've all done it 10 times over. And their morality has been on display for 1,000 years longer than ours has. And guess what? The world wasn't any better pre-World War II. And post-World War II, without the United States, y'all would have been speaking German. So y'all better thank it, auf Wiedersehen. That's my reality behind it. See, Do you want a BRICS morality and a BRICS set of virtues running the world economy? Because the world economy, until we get off our arses and figure out fission and fusion power, that's where we should be putting our resources to invent endless power. But there's conspiracy behind that. We could have had this decades ago, but we would put the oil companies out of business and it would be shock and awe for the whole world economy because we're so locked onto this old way of doing things. But eventually what's going to end up happening, and you're starting to see that, especially with Elon Musk and SpaceX and all this stuff, is we're going to reach terminal velocity on a lot of things where we're going to be in the event horizon of these innovations, and you can't escape it anymore. And that's where we're going. So I don't know, Len. I think we're in a better. So the fact that you say we're stable because of the U.S. petrodollar, we should all be happy that the U.S. did this because they were fast, or Iran was fast approaching to circumvent that and to create a BRICS alliance. So the U.S. went in and said, wait a minute. Do we really want this to be World War III, but instead of you speaking German, you're going to speak Chinese or whatever you're going to speak? Do we really want that? Do we want that? Do we all want that?
I'll answer your question, and then let's move on to the next topic.
But wait, I still didn't give you my final point, and then you get thrown.
Okay, go for it.
Here's the unilateral thing that I think, Glenn, that could make you, or here's the thing that I think that could make you feel safe at night about this agreement.
Okay.
Besides the fact that it's the first time that, like you said, the money given away and all this stuff, these other countries have to pony up that money too. A lot of it's frozen assets that were already theirs. They're getting it back. And a lot of these other countries have to pony up the assets. And what's nice about that is they get to go in there and build the infrastructure. Previous to that, previous administrations didn't allow other countries to go in and build infrastructure. It was all U.S. or predominantly Halliburton and all these other crooks that went in there. Now it's like, hey, y'all got to come in here and do this. But here's the biggest thing, Len, and I think this came to me yesterday when Trump basically can you imagine what that call was probably like between Trump and Netanyahu yesterday? Do you think Trump was like, you bet? You know what I mean? Can you imagine what that was like? He's like, I'm getting ready to go do this 250 thing in front of the White House. You better not screw this up for me, right? Here's the biggest thing.
Right before he goes and bombs Hezbollah. Right? In Lebanon.
Right. So here's the best thing I think it make you feel safe at night. And here's what I ultimately think is let's say worst case scenario, 2-3 weeks from now, you said it all falls apart, but the deal was signed. Here's what I think makes this superiorly different. Okay. If it does go that way, I think that for the fact that Trump had to fall on the sword a little bit and take some things that he didn't want in this deal to get it done, I think he conceded on that and compromised on that, because in the end of the day, Len, if this all goes to hell, I think this is a 100% get out of jail free card for the United States. And if it does go back to war, we're not getting involved, and we won't get involved. And it'll be, the solution will be on the backs of all those countries over there and that are in that region, specifically Israel and all the other Middle Eastern countries. Because I think if this falls apart, I think that Trump has structured this as a get out of jail free card for America. And I think that should make you feel safe at night.
Okay, that statement took me on a whole different route, which I'll address. And so I think the part that a lot of people don't yet understand is that Israel and the United States are connected at the hip. And what I believe, this is my opinion, what I believe is that Israel. I keep saying Iran. Israel has a bunch of secrets.
They're both eyes, bro.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Israel has so many secrets. Like, I think that the playbook is that we're going to put you in so many different compromising situations that if we get disconnected at the hip, then we're going to expose you in different ways that you would not believe. And then we can do that with them as well. So I think the whole idea that Israel is God's chosen nation and stuff like that, I think some of that plays into the relationship as well. So I think that the relationship between these two nations are such that there's stuff that happens behind the scenes that none of us know about, but there's a reason why they're that close, because Israel has no reason of having that tight of a relationship with the United States if there weren't other things going on outside of what we saw. But I agree
with you on that. I agree with you on that, Len. And here's the thing. I think that it is necessary for us to decouple in a lot of ways.
Wow, I agree with that. And as a Christian, go ahead.
I went more on that camp too, especially when I seen it happening the last couple of days, and I was like, dude, they're purposely trying to screw this crap up. They're purposely, because they
just like with Charlie Kirk's murder. I think they were connected with all of that.
100%. They want to stay in this thing. They want to stay in this thing. They want to keep it going. So I'm like, wait a minute, dude. America doesn't want to be involved in this stuff. We've never wanted to be involved in this crap. We've always been a nationalist, populist, isolationist state. That's the way we were founded. That's what we wanted. Dude, get away from us. Let us do whatever we want. We love to be weird over here.
Yeah, but they've been different with Israel around that, and so
yes, I know that. Especially post World War II.
I think
we need to
end on a point of agreement where we
agree with you, Len. Let's decouple a little bit.
Decouple.
And I think that you're starting to see that now. And I think that there are tenets in this deal that if this goes awry again, Israel's on its own. I think. I don't think Trump's going to stand for it, Len. I don't think Trump will not get into another war. He's not a war guy. He doesn't want to be in a war. He doesn't want this. He doesn't. Well, and if it was up to him, he would have ended it in 24 hours. It's easy to end this stuff in 24 hours. We shall see.
All right, man. Hey, Chris, till next time. Have a great one. All right.
You too.
Bye.
Conversation has given you clarity on your next steps. Please share this episode with someone who's walking the same path. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you won't miss future episodes. And remember, planning ahead isn't just prudent, it's an act of care. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time on The Family Office.